This week I've been at Miss Baltazar's laboratory at Platform 4. Miss Baltazar's laboratory is an organization that teaches women and transsexuals how to do electronics. I've done 2 videos of my experiences from the workshop. At the first video I interview Miss Baltazar, also known as Stefanie Wuschitz, about her background and how the organization came to be. Then we talk about gender differences and how these differences are linked to society. Then we talk about play and purpose in technology. I really hope you will enjoy my video.
My name is Stefanie Wuschitz and I do media art. My background is in actually animation and video. And then I took part in a festival that was for women only and open source only. It's called Eclectic Tech Carnival and it's organized by a Dutch organization. They're called the Gender Changers. And they have this concept that women share their skills and teach each other things, and especially things that are based on technology. So I took part and I was really fascinated to see women who do programming and are not like really crazy, but actually cool, interesting people. And they started to be like role models for me. And I started to think of myself also as I could maybe be able to learn this too if they can learn it. So after this one festival where there were several workshops about how to open computers and how to use software like Maximus P or Pure Data, I started to become really interested. So I had licked blood and wanted to learn more, and so took a master's in interactive telecommunications. It's like how to use computers differently in a different way to interface the real world with the digital world. And I learned a lot of technology, and then I thought, wow, this was great, but it was really expensive to learn all this, and it's actually all open source and free, so it should be possible for everyone to learn it and teach each other, and it shouldn't be such a limitation who can actually learn it and who can get access to technology and who have access to developing technology. So usually I think there is a big power gap between those who develop and those who consume or have to just passively accept whatever they get, if they have access to technology at all and can solve their problems through technology at all. So I started these groups of people meeting, and I really wanted to have people who are from different fields collaborating, because I think it's really inspiring if different mindsets come together and try to work together. So I asked people from the interaction design department at the university and the IT sector and also the art school if they want to come together and tinker with me on with electronics and on the intersection of computer and human. And I figured that there were only men coming or male participants, and I was kind of surprised that it's so clearly separated, because I think that it can be very creative and very fun and very self-expressive to work with new media and technology and electronics. So I asked my friends, hey, why are you not showing up, making such an effort to do these workshops and you don't come? And they said, yeah, we think that you use this technology for making little cars and robots, and that's not really interesting. We are artists, so whatever, we want to do other things. So I tried to make workshops only for women, because I had the impression that they have different associations to technology often, and they have certain connotations that are male-oriented, that technology is kind of masculinity or male toys or male kind of hobbies, and yeah, it was true. I mean, the male participants who came, they had sometimes already ordered electronic parts online, and they had maybe as a kid already tinkered and assembled a helicopter or a ship or whatever, and they had these images in their minds how electronics are usually used. So it was also difficult for those people who had never used them to come up with totally different concepts of how to use technology. So when it was separated, I had the impression that maybe the female participants needed some time to get rid of the stereotypes or hesitations towards touching something that's electric or making an electric circuit. But then when they did, it was very much, I think, very innovative, or for me, much more interesting, because it was, for example, I don't know, an old fur hat that started to breathe, or fans going on and off, and like a very different style of interaction than if you just do something with people who have in their minds already, this could become a robot, a ship, a car, or a tank, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why it became interesting for me to do women-only things. And then I went home to Austria because I was abroad for like 3 years. And in Austria, I realized that, yeah, it's just not as equal as Scandinavia, I would say. Like, it's even worse than in other parts of the world, I think. So I made women and trans-only workshops every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started an organization, and the organization is called Baltazar's Laboratory.
Yeah.
So we get funding from the city of Vienna to teach technology, but teach each other. So it's not just top-down, that someone is teaching, the other ones are listening, but it's always like an exchange and a collaboration and participatory. And usually we try to do things and not discuss only, because there are so many platforms and places where you can talk about why women don't use electronics or why everything is bad or whatever, but there are not many places where you can just go and try out things or get help with your own projects.
So what you told a little, it was more innovative when the women did electronics than the ordinary people were into this. What kind of change do you think that electronics can do for society as a whole, and also for women in specific?
Yeah, I think that technology is basically trying to find solutions to problems that you have, and the people who define what problem is important enough to try to find a technical solution for, they are mostly the ones in power. So I think if there's only one part of the society developing the tools, solutions, then only a certain part of the society gets the problem solved. So, I mean, apart from that, I really see it as an articulation, form of articulation, to produce something, to create something, to make something yourself. And also, I think that it changes a lot if you are looking into objects, into hardware, and you get a different approach towards technology. You don't think as yourself being exposed to all this stuff, and you don't know what it is and how it works and what it does and if it's bad for you or not. So you get a different approach. You kind of think of it more like something that you can own also and master and use for your own purposes. And you don't have to buy, but you can also maybe repair something yourself, or kind of make something yourself without being dependent on other people. Yeah. So it's also some kind of self-empowerment if you learn how to actually do things yourself. So that's how I think it changes the society, by making people agents and others just passive users. So I try to work against this bias somehow.
Yeah. You told me before that only 2% of the ones who put out open source programs were women. Why do you think that is?
I think that, as I said, I think it's not about the technology. I think the technology or code itself is neutral, or it's a language, or it's a structure. I think it's more the culture that evolves around technology, because it's a lot connected to certain drinks or ways of learning environments, like hacker spaces, or it's connected, associated to certain kind maybe of music or dress style or behavior code, and all these codes or habitus are male connotated. So I think if women would, or people who call themselves women, or people who were raised as women, socialized as women, if they would have their own culture around technology, their own, so they identify with the tool, so they can say, yeah, this is mine and I'm working with it and it's part of me, because tools are always an extension of yourself. So if the tool that you're using is totally from a different person, made from a different person, used by a different person, associated to a different person and personality, and you don't want to use it really. Or it feels strange, it feels like you're in a foreign country using something, it feels uneasy. So I think if women, or people who want to be women, call themselves women, would use technology in their way, make it in their own way, so that it's really theirs, and it really is mirroring who they think that they are, then they would use it and they would develop technology that's also helping them in many ways. And I think the reason for women not being in open source, only 2% of women being developers of open source, is really this culture misunderstanding that, it's something for the others, it's not mine, it's not for me, It's too difficult, or it's,
But also it's a kind of new technology. The Arduino technology is a new technology, so maybe it needs to be spread more.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, in Austria it's like that in school classes, at every point in the school career where you can vote what you learn, girls are not voting for learning electronics or technology, whatever electronics or technology. So they're always going the other direction. And I think it starts really early when they get toys, certain toys, or certain colors, pink or whatever. I think this color code already gives signals on this is for you and this is not for you, or this will be fun for you, this will not be fun for you. So, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, it's a good, so I think maybe there can be a gap for women about the purpose of technology. It can be hard maybe if you're in a certain place for women. I don't know. For me, actually, it's I'm always looking very practical on technology. It serves a purpose, but for some it's more like a game to play with technology. What is your experience about this purpose thing? This thoughts about purpose for technology?
Yeah. I mean, that's maybe a stereotype, but for me it also is like this, that most female users look for some kind of meaning, or meaningful use, something that makes something better for someone. But and those universities or colleges that try to teach technology as something that can be meaningful for communication or solving problems in developing regions or whatever, they also have a higher amount of women going there. But I think that also men like purposeful, meaningful things. It's just that, for me, my personal approach is I don't think that it's always good to have a goal while you work in a process, because sometimes you experiment and you do kind of ground research, and then you get to a very interesting perspective, or you make a mistake, and this mistake leads you to a new certain approach. So on the one hand, I think that if technology would be appropriate, like applied in really meaningful things, there would be more women in the field. On the other hand, I think the good thing about open source or hacker spaces or these open source environments is that mostly people play with the code and don't have really a goal, and that way it becomes this kind of free zone where really new things can also emerge. So I think on the one hand, yes, I want to do things that are expressive and meaningful and poetic in a way, or social change triggering. But on the other hand, I think it's really good to create spaces where people could just, without a goal, without a function, without having to have an A or a B or a C, try and play and explore, because then you get to other directions in thinking and feeling and working and creating. So both is important. So I don't want to devalue men being in hacker spaces playing with technology, because I think they come up with really cool things. Although we think maybe as girlfriends, what the fuck are you doing here? Why are you playing 6 hours this stupid game? But on the other hand, I think both gender stereotypes can profit from dissolving into each other. because I think it is sometimes good to be playful, sometimes it's good to be responsible and do something meaningful.